the Dunes. On July 26, 1974, a 9-year-old was walking her dog in the Race Point Dunes in Massachusetts when she stumbled upon a severely decomposed body. The woman had likely been dead for 2 weeks and was missing her hands and teeth. She had been nearly decapitated. There were 2 sets of footprints and tire tracks leading to the body. The body was laid to rest, unidentified in October in St. Peter's Cemetery, to later be exhumed in 1980, 2000, and 2013. A tip from Stephen King's son suggested that she may have been an extra cast in the 1975 film Jaws, as her outfit was similar to one worn in a scene filmed nearby. To this day, her identity is a mystery.
The unsolved murder of the Roberson family. In the summer of 1968, the Roberson family took a vacation to their summer cabin in Good Heart, Michigan. But unbeknownst to them, a man was lurking around the cabin. On June 25th, a man used a rifle to shoot the father, Richard, through the side window, then entering through the home to kill the mother and the 4 kids. 27 days later, neighbors were playing bridge and noticed a horrible smell. They called the caretaker to check it out. When no one answered, he walked into a horrific scene. In the doorway lay Shirley, with her clothes disturbed. With further investigation, 5 more bodies were found, all receiving bullet holes, but Richard and the youngest daughter had blood force trauma as well. 2 weeks later, they had their first suspect, Joseph Scalero. He was found embezzling and had no alibi. In 1973, he committed suicide and the case is inactive.
Hi, I'm Cam and this is 1 Minute Murder. On Valentine's Day 1999, Julie's son snapped this photo of her mother and her friend in their room at the Cedar Lodge. This is the last photo of them taken alive. Next morning, a maintenance man knocked on their door claiming there had been a leak coming from their room that needed to be fixed immediately. Carl refused to let the man in multiple times, however his attempts to enter the room grew more and more serious. After he threatened to get the manager involved, she finally let him in to have a look. It was a simple mistake that sealed the fate of the mother and the 2 teenage girls. The maintenance man, later to be discovered as Carrie Stainer, bound and gagged the 3 women so they couldn't scream. Carol was taken to the bathroom, strangled, and then dragged to the trunk of her own rental car. He then ripped the clothes off of both girls and sexually tortured and assaulted them for hours, even forcing them to perform sexual acts on one another. Sylvania began to sob uncontrollably, ruining the fantasy that Stainer had created about the 2 teenage girls. This led to him strangling Sylvania as well and placing her in the trunk with Carol. He returned to the room and sexually assaulted Julie even more. After that, he took her to a point near Lake Don Pedro where he slashed her throat and threw her into a ditch. After the murders, a map showing where Julie's body was arrived at the FBI office in Modesto. Message read, "We had fun with this one." Stainer is now 59 and remains on death row in California.
On October 25, 1994, a woman frantically knocked on the door of Shirley and Rick McLeod's South Carolina home. She claimed she had been carjacked at a red light and the assailant had made off with her vehicle. But even worse, her 2 sons were still inside. Join me today as we explore the strange case of Susan Smith.
The night she had begged the McLeods for help, Susan Smith claimed she was carjacked at a red light and the assailant had driven away with her 2 sons, 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alexander, still inside. Her description of the perpetrator was rather generic, however, and the police had trouble tracking down any leads. For a little over a week, Susan made pleas on national television begging for the safe return of her 2 boys, but this would draw the opposite attention that she had wanted. I'm going to play a clip of Susan on the news so you can get a more accurate picture of what I'm talking about.
I want to say to my baby that your mama loves you so much, and your daddy and this whole family love you so much.
This is what became known as the Los Feliz Murder House or the Los Feliz Murder Mansion. And if you'd like to find out what happened in 1959 or why the house stood vacant for almost 50 years, click the link in the bio to find out.
Hi, I'm Cam and this is Death Row Inmates, Their Last Words and Last Meals. Robert Alton Harris shot and killed 2 teenage boys. On April 21st, 1992, he had his last meal, 2 large pizzas, a bucket of fried chicken, and ice cream. His last words were, "You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everyone dances with the Grim Reaper." He was executed by gas chamber. Daryl Keith Rich killed 4 women and children, the oldest being 26 and the youngest being 11. On March 15, 2000, he declined a last meal, instead drinking tea, broth, and Gatorade. His last word was peace before being executed by lethal injection. Robert Lee Massey killed 1 male victim during a liquor store robbery while on parole for another murder he committed. On March 27, 2001, he ate his last meal consisting of 2 vanilla milkshakes, extra crispy french fries, extra crispy fried oysters, and soft drinks. His last words were forgiveness, giving up all hope for a better past. He was executed by lethal injection. Clarence Ray Allen murdered 2 males and 1 female. On January 17, 2006, he ate his last meal, buffalo steak, KFC, fried bread, pecan pie, black walnut ice cream, and whole milk. His last words were, "Hoka-hey, it's a good day to die." He was executed by lethal injection.
You all are going to need to share the hell out of this video. This man right here pretty much admitted that he murdered his wife. As you can see, he supports Trump, and he posts a lot of racist shit. So, I don't even know where to begin with this guy, but let's start here. Someone asked if they admitted that he murdered his wife. He says, "No, I'm claiming someone got what they deserved. There is a difference." And then the person responds, "So you're admitting to domestic abuse?" Now brace yourselves, because this is fucked. He says, "I didn't admit to domestic abuse. All I'm saying is my bitch ex-wife somehow found her way at the bottom of the steps and stabbed herself 7 times during the fall. It was a horrible suicide." And it only gets more fucked up from there because he says this: "I've killed 2 protesters in the past 3 days. You cool yours." Like, if that's something that you're joking about, that's not something you should joke about, because you're gonna get a lot of legal shit because of that. This man is in the army.
This case took 27 years to be solved. On October 22nd, 1989, 3 boys were riding their bikes in St. Joseph, Minnesota, when a man wearing a mask and wielding a gun told them all to get on the ground and demanded their ages. He told 2 of them to run away, but he abducted 11-year-old Jacob Wetterling. And that was the last time anyone saw him, but they soon had a suspect, Danny James Heinrich, who was later linked to a similar abduction of a 12-year-old boy in the area. But the problem was they didn't have enough evidence or even proof that Jacob was dead. And it wouldn't be until September 1st, 2016, as part of a plea bargain for a different crime, Heinrich would lead authorities to Jacob's clothes and remains buried not far from where he was abducted. But because of the plea agreement, he only got 20 years for the other crime and was never charged for the murder.
This story is so weird. William Moult was 40 years old when he disappeared in 1997. On the night of November 7th, he was out at a club in Lantana, Florida, and called his girlfriend just before midnight to tell her he would be home shortly. Of course, that never happened. In 2019, a man noticed something strange when he was exploring the area he used to live in on Google Maps. Something odd could be seen shimmering through a pond near Moon Bay Circle in Wellington, Florida. He informed a local resident, who then used their own drone to confirm initial suspicions. There had been a car in the pond for 22 years, and no one had seemed to notice. When authorities were contacted, they were able to pull the car out of the pond, and inside were William's skeletal remains. William was not a heavy drinker, but he had consumed a few drinks at the club before driving home, and apparently that's all it takes. The car had been visible on Google Maps since 2007, but apparently no one had noticed. What are your thoughts on this story?
This is why you should be super nosy with your friends. This is Michaela Bali, and she lived in Yorkton, Saskatchewan in Canada and was 16 at the time of her disappearance. Her friends told reporters that Michaela often talked about wanting to leave Saskatchewan and also about how some boy named Christopher was planning to come out and see her. The night before Michaela's disappearance, she texted one of her friends asking her to take her to the bank. She also texted her ex-boyfriend saying she was really unhappy and wanted to go to Regina for a couple of days. So on April 12, 2016, the day that Michaela disappeared, at 6:41 a.m., Michaela texted her friend again asking her to take her to the bank, but the bank didn't open till 9 a.m., so obviously that plan was a no-go. So at 8:10 a.m., Michaela's grandma dropped her off at the school, and Michaela would go inside, put her binder in a locker, and then walk right out the back door. This story gets crazy. Comment for part 2.
Why is it spicy?
When Naya Rivera and her son Josie go on a pontoon boat ride together, 3 hours later the boat is found with just her son on board. There are 2 narratives as to what could have happened next, but apparently these 2 stories happened at the same time. The first one is that a boat nearby saw the abandoned pontoon with the child inside, and the crew members from where Naya rented the boat from were looking for them. At 4:40 p.m., the wife of the man who found the boat called 911. Naya's son was found in the boat asleep wearing a life jacket, and although there was no sign of Naya around, her purse and an adult-sized life jacket still remained on the boat.
Lake Piru, The emergency is we have a missing person. We found a little girl in one of the boats by her.